Hey, what's going on, y'all? My name is Nate Robert-Eze. I'm a designer and an entrepreneur based in the US. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how I went back to Nigeria, my home country, after 24 years of being here in the US. So in December of 2021, I decided to take a trip back to Nigeria, the country which I was born. And when I went back, I saw a lot of things that were very interesting and surprising. I realized a lot on my visit, and I learned some life lessons in the process. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you some of those realizations. I'm also gonna share with you some of the places I went, some of the things I did, some of the food that I ate during my visit, so you can check them out. I'm also give you some things to expect and some things to look out for whenever you're thinking about traveling to Nigeria. So let's get into some story time. Rewind back to 1997 when my family came here to the US on the visa lottery. I actually made a video on some of that journey in my last video talking about my architectural journey and how I got to the place that I am. So rewind back to 1997, coming to the US, arriving at the airport. The first thing that I remember is seeing my dad. We hadn't seen him for a few months because he was just getting stuff ready for us to come to the US. But that was the first thing I saw, and I was super excited. The thing following that I saw was a whole bunch of people that looked nothing like me, right? And I'm going somewhere with this, so just follow me here. When we arrived in the US, there was a lot of white people who welcomed us from the airport because my dad was a part of a church, and that particular church really helped us out when we got to the US to kind of get on our feet and help us in transitioning to a new country. But I think that memory kind of changed something mentally for me. Obviously, I wasn't used to seeing that back home in Nigeria. And don't get me wrong, being around diversity is amazing and great. It's a beautiful thing. But also in a state that's not as open to diversity, like Indiana, which we were in, you didn't feel as comfortable in your skin as a person of color. And for my case, I felt black. So just follow me here. And also, I grew up in a public school. I went to public schools pretty much all my life, where there were also black people and even less white people. Even then, I still felt African because I wasn't black enough for those people. And so a lot of times I was bullied growing up just for not being black enough, or sometimes for my accent that I had when I was at home. I hadn't really learned to talk the way I'm talking now. And that brings me to my first realization in visiting Nigeria. When I got there, I didn't necessarily feel black. And that was something that was a special moment for me. It was something that I'd never really experienced before, I would say. I didn't feel like an outsider. I felt like someone who was supposed to be there because everybody around me pretty much looked like me. I wasn't the minority anymore. And there was something special about that. And although Africa has other problems like colonialism and corruption and things like that, to not feel black or to not feel like an outsider in a country is something that is huge for an immigrant who has grown up in the US their whole life. So I just wanted to put out that first realization to kind of get you ready for the next things that I'm gonna say. So that was the base realization, something that I actually felt when I landed and touched ground back home. So let me tell you about some of the reasons that I went. So first of all, I'd been wanting to go back to Nigeria for a while. We never really got to go back in my childhood. And then when I got to college, it was just crazy because I took all summer classes. When I got out of school, I didn't have $5,000 to $10,000 saved up to be able to make that type of commitment on a trip. I felt that I needed to really understand my roots. You know, I'd grown up in a Nigerian home, and I'd grown up around Nigerian people like aunts, uncles, you know, friends of my parents, and I'd watched a lot of Nigerian movies. So I felt like I was getting the Nigerian culture secondhand. And I felt that I wanted to get it firsthand because I really wanted to understand the core and roots of what it is. I don't know if you all know, but I'm Yoruba and Igbo. It's two different tribes in Nigeria. And all my life, I've had so many questions about both sides, and they're not questions that you can read in books. They're not questions that you can necessarily watch in movies. And I believe that there are things that you actually have to go there and see and experience yourself. So I felt that, there were certain things that I would learn about myself if I was able to make that trip. And overall, now that I look back at it, I think all those things were fulfilled. So now's the meat and potatoes. I'm gonna tell you guys all about most of everything I did and places I went, things of that nature. So this is the time to take out your pen and pads. I'm gonna try to leave some of this stuff in the descriptions, but I would say now is the time to really, really take notes. So in preparation, that was the craziest part for me. Because I don't have a green passport, I had to go about it another way. So I had to get what they call a traveling visa. So I had to drive about 2 hours. I live in Charlotte, so I had to drive about 2 hours to Atlanta and actually acquire a visa. The Nigerian embassy in Atlanta is crazy, man. You gotta hop over all these hoops and hurdles to be able to get that visa. So basically it's valid for 2 years, and it costed me, I would say, about $200, something around that. Another thing I had to do was get the yellow fever vaccine. That was crazy. First of all, getting an appointment was wild because a lot of people were traveling around the time. And then on top of that, it's super expensive. My yellow fever vaccine costed me $480 or something crazy like that. And I had to pay it all right there. To just get the vaccine. I think for people who lived in Nigeria for a certain amount of time and move here to the US may not have to have it because they're immune to the yellow fever. But because I was raised here in the US, I had to actually get that vaccine. And then at the same time, COVID stuff was going on. So I had to get the COVID vaccine and a COVID test, which I got last minute. And it costed me $250. Yeah, I'm definitely ashamed of paying that much for a COVID test. But I really wanted to go and I was last minute, but yeah, we move. Also something to mention, when I was getting my visa, someone has to write you a invitation letter from Nigeria. So I had to find a way to get some family to help me write that invitation letter. And then there were some other forms and stuff that I had to fill out. So it was a pretty lengthy process. I would say it took about 2 months or so to be able to get the visa, to be able to get all the vaccines, to be able to do all the stuff that I needed to do in preparation to actually go. So let's talk about how I got there. So the airlines that I took was actually American Airlines. I also took Air France. And lastly, I took IBM Air. So I'll tell you how that went. I flew from Charlotte to Miami, and that's the one that I actually took, American Airlines. And then I flew from Miami to France. Obviously that was Air France. From France straight to Abuja. So I actually landed in Abuja when I got to Nigeria because it is definitely a smoother process. If you're planning on going to Nigeria and when you're watching other videos, you've probably heard about the process in terms of going to the airport. And I had my time there when I was coming back to Nigeria, and actually when I was going from Abuja to Lagos, I'm happy I'm happy we actually got to land in Abuja because it's a very clean airport. The people are pretty cool. It was a smooth process. So the whole travels and everything took about a day and a half, I would say. That was only because of the trip from Charlotte to Miami. I flew IBM Air from Abuja to Lagos, and that flight costed me about, I would say $70 or something of that. So overall, my flight and everything, traveling from Charlotte to Abuja, costed me about $2,000. So let's talk about hotel stay. So when I landed in Abuja, I stayed at a hotel called the Iris Hotel. It was decent. I liked it there. And that costed me about $100 for one night. And then when we landed in Lagos, I actually stayed at Echo Hotel and Suites, which is one of the primary hotels in Nigeria. And it was a nice view as well. And I actually liked the room. I love the food. I love the vibes. Whenever you went downstairs, there was a ton of stuff to do. There was live music, there was entertainment, there was concerts going on. It was crazy. There was always so much to do. That's the main thing I really liked about the hotel, because it wasn't just hotels, entertainment all in one place. And so that hotel costed me about $160 per night. And I thought it was worth it, honestly. So let's talk about communication. Bruh, communication was so tough. So basically, as soon as we got to Abuja, what I tried to do, because I had Verizon at the time, so I tried to just turn on my routing, just like I've done in other countries. Just try to feed off of whatever towers they have and use the local service pretty much. I will tell you, it did not work. It didn't work at all. As soon as I tried to make a call, my phone just like completely shut off. So I realized very quickly that my Verizon roaming plan was definitely not gonna work in Nigeria. So on to plan B. So I realized I had to get a SIM card and I had to get another phone. But before that, I had to get what they call an NIN. So an NIN is a Nigerian identification number. And it's something that has been implemented by the government about a few years back. Basically, everybody in Nigeria has to have to be able to acquire anything. Literally, you have to have an NIN to do anything in that country now. So we had a friend who actually helped us through the process. It took about 2 weeks to get it, because once you sign up, you have to wait and let them like process and register. Then you have to come back, and then that's when they actually process your NIN for you. So in the meantime, I actually had to borrow someone's Wi-Fi box. And basically what the Wi-Fi box was, it was just a small router that you could load service onto, and it was a wireless hotspot. So it connected to my actual phone, which I used to use WhatsApp to contact other people. So basically on my phone, I was connected to Wi-Fi, and then I used that Wi-Fi to connect to WhatsApp. So then finally, when I got my NIN set up, I got my SIM card. It was about 2 weeks into my trip. I ended up getting another phone, which was like around, I would say $70. And then I was set up, finally able to make calls. So transportation. The first word I'm gonna say here, if you've ever been to Nigeria or you've ever been to Lagos, one word that I want you to know is traffic. Traffic was crazy. So I had to start making like rules for myself. Like my 2 rules were that, first of all, I wouldn't schedule 2 things in one day that are far away from each other. It's just almost impossible, like, to get there. Unless if it's like closer in proximity, or maybe it's on the way back or something like that. If it's like over here, and they're like different activities that'll take hours, yeah, nah, you're probably not doing that, to be honest. And then my other rule was that if someone was coming to see me, like family or something like that, depending on where they're at, I have to give like at least a 2.5 hour or so buffer just to wait for them to get to me. And also I would suggest, if you're going to Nigeria, go ahead and get a driver and a car. Obviously get someone that you trust. Vet out the company, make sure your family back home or whoever that you're dealing with, make sure that they vet out that company and make sure that they're legit. But we paid about, I would say, $100 a day, and it was in a group, so it wasn't that bad. So one of the moments that was really paramount for me was going back to my town, Ikotun, in the mainland, and actually seeing my family over there. For me, that was so refreshing, first of all, because I got to see some of the people who basically raised me like as a baby, and some of my family's friends that knew me when I was literally just a baby. So seeing them and just getting to experience that love and getting to experience the amazing feeling of coming back home and being welcomed was unlike any other experience that I've ever had in my life. That was a moment that was very, very special to me. So let's talk about the nightlife, because I know that's what y'all want to hear about. So there's a few places that we went, a few places that, I really liked, and a few places that were, they were okay, right? So the first place that I really liked was Moist Beach Club. The reason why I liked it is because it was outside, it was airy, it was really nice, it was on a beach, there was cool seating and stuff like that around, there was live music, just like all the things that I liked. That was so dope to me. Another place that I thought was pretty cool was Zoria, and I went there with my friends. We got a table, it was pretty nice, decent vibes. We also went to a place called W Bar, which was dope as well. I liked the vibe, the music was banging, but that's everywhere in Nigeria. Like Nigeria's music is like off the chain. Like Nigeria's music is dope. It's a music place. Like entertainment is top tier. So let's talk about food, which is one of the main reasons why a lot of people travel. And I've had Nigerian food before, of course, because I'm Nigerian. But having Nigerian food in Nigeria kind of hits different. So I'm gonna tell you some of the places I went to. So one of the places was Ox. Ox was dope because of the vibe. They had an indoor and outdoor vibe. They had a nice bar. And I ended up getting the jollof rice with plantain and all that, all those stuff like suya, and the whole nine. And I also got like lamb chops as well. It was really good, like really enjoying the food. I also went to a place called Black Pepper Restaurant. That restaurant was actually in Echo Atlantic, which is a new development which is coming up in Nigeria. And I got some beef chops and vegetables and all that stuff. And it was nice, like they cut it in front of you. They did all the dramatic stuff, like it was dope. Another place I went was called Jinja. And Jinja was in Ebony Life Place. And that's pretty much like a hotel entertainment building. But the restaurant, that was probably my favorite, like honestly, because they had this thing that you have to try called jollof sushi. Like it was fire. And then they also had some other stuff, like I got some chicken and jollof and like all that stuff. So it was really nice. Another place I went was called Nok by Alara. And Nok is one of the places I was eyeing before I got to Nigeria because the building, Alara, is actually designed by one of my favorite architects, Robert-Eze. And when I got there, I was amazed. It looked even better in person. And I had to take some pictures, I had to do that whole thing. But at the restaurant, I ended up just getting like a Nashville style type with some macaroni and cheese. And I did that on purpose. I kind of wanted to see how Nigeria would do like American foods as well. And it was pretty good. It was super spicy. Like my head was sweating. But if I was to go again, I'm probably gonna get the amala with ewedu because I've heard a lot of good things about their amala. So I'm gonna try that next time I go to Nok. And I ate at a few like fast food spots. Like I wanted to get like the full experience. So when I went to the mainland, I actually ate at a restaurant called Food City. And my God, was the food good. Like it was really, really good. I ended up getting shawarma. Definitely check that out. So let's talk a little bit about the architecture and design. That's something I was really, really looking at when I got to Nigeria because, I realized that I wanted to take inspiration from not only the traditional architecture, but, kind of see who was pushing the limits on, some of the existing architecture that's there. So when I came there, I realized that there was a lot of like Western architecture in Nigeria, which kind of, it surprised me, but at the same time it didn't, because I can't remember seeing like super Afrocentric, unless if like, I watched a movie that people were in the village or something like that. Like I usually see like buildings with glass and all those types of things, just like here in the US. And also because of a lack of like, building code and, building regulations and stuff like that, a lot of the buildings were completely different from each other. Like you would see a building that is like green, and then the next building is like brick, and then the next building is like kind of traditional. So like there was a lot of different architectural styles and it was kind of like overwhelming, but I found some appreciation for it. Another thing that I realized is that because of that kind of leniency with that regulation, it allowed buildings to take shape from the actual brand and the branding that actually inhabited the building, if that makes sense. So basically, if you saw a building that was owned by a company that had like a green logo, then the building was like green. If you saw a building that the logo was like gray or the logo was like red, then the building was like red. So like branding and architecture kind of went hand in hand. And that's something I study a lot. Like, I feel like Nigerians really, really understand branding very well. And I'm still trying to figure out like where that comes from, but it's true. But overall, there was very nice architecture, especially, seeing some of the new stuff like I talked about before, Nok by Alara. There's some other architects in Nigeria who are really killing it, like Adeyemo Shokunbi, Tosin Oshinowo, Kunle Adeyemi. Like there's a lot of people really killing it in the architecture space. So kudos to y'all, and I see the dope work that y'all doing. Keep it up. So let's talk about like entertainment and fun. So looking back, I didn't really see Nigeria as a place of like touristy like activities, right? I saw it as more of like an entertainment hub, like, concerts, events, meetups, things like that. Like that's where Nigeria really thrives in its tourist attractions. So there was a lot of events that went on. Like I went to like a Lagos Tech meetup, which was really dope. I met a lot of cool people. I went to an all black affair, which was pretty dope. There's some celebrities in the house and stuff like that. But those are the things that I would say, Nigeria is known for. Now, when it comes to some of the other fun touristy stuff, one place that I did end up going was the Lekki Conservation Center, which was pretty cool. It was an outdoor space and it had this like sky bridge where you just go up and you try to go higher and higher and higher and higher. And basically when you get to the top, there's this like a crazy feeling, like, cause you're so high up in the sky, you can look down, all you see is trees, the tops of trees. And it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. So overall, my expectation of Nigeria and the reality of what I met there was a lot different because obviously, I hadn't been there in a long time. the way the people live, the way the people act, the way the people interact was, different to me because I was raised in another country. Another thing it did for me was it really grounded me because, as we may know, there is a poverty problem in Nigeria. And to see some of the lows, you get to really, really see it. There's a different type of poverty. And it definitely grounded me, especially going back to my hometown, definitely grounded me and gave me a different perspective on life and really showed me that there is definitely, and all my life, I kind of knew that there was a why behind what I did, and me having the opportunity to come to the US and try to create another opportunity of success and of legacy and things of that nature. But to see it firsthand, that really did it for me. And it just basically showed me that there are other reasons why you have your purpose. Your why goes way past just you as an individual, and you can find inspiration and motivation from seeing those types of things. And that's why I think travel is so important, especially going back home or going to places that you've never been before, because it opens your mind and it really gives you a different perspective on life and the way other people live. So share with me some of your takeaways. I know a lot of people go to Nigeria and they go back to Africa and they come on Instagram and they post reels and highlights and things like that, and they take pictures. But there's not a lot of times where we actually get a chance to talk back and forth about our experiences and what we really learned. So leave some comments for me telling me about your experience, if you've gone or if you want to go, or some of the things that you're looking to get out of a trip to Nigeria. I would love to interact with you all and tell you even more about my experiences. And once again, I'm Nate. Thank you for watching this video. And if you like this type of content, go ahead and leave me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.